kawaii kitten 123 at msn.com, it ended up being BEEAMP. Not everyone in this world is a specialist. Not everyone was born to have one specific passion. To me, the busier I get, the more productive I am. The biggest one came from two quotes that are related. I actually have two ways of journaling. I thought I was rebellious, but I walked straight into the shackles. Thank you everyone for being here, for supporting the channel. I never thought that getting to 100,000 was even possible when I started the channel. So this is really humbling, and I'm so glad I found my people to think with, to chat with. So thank you for being here. Today I've got you some ASMR in the background. We're going to answer some of your questions, and yeah, let's get to it. First, the question so many people ask is, what is BEEAMP? Okay, so the silly story is when I started my company, I wanted to find a name that was meaningful, but also, a one-word thing that was good for SEO. So I thought, okay, I have to make up a word. So it would rank #1 on SEO. And BEEAMP is short for Be Amplified. I really wanted to do something where others can feel empowered, feel like they can see their own potential, that can be amplified. And so, like those 90s email addresses, like like superstar@hotmail.com, or kawaii kitten 123 at msn.com, it ended up being BEEAMP. No one got it. I think it wasn't the greatest name choice, but anyway, it stuck with me, and yeah, Be Amplified is what it means. I really hope we can all, take who we are and our potential and amplify that. All right, the next question from Baymax2146. I'm more interested in your story, like how you came into this field, how it became your passion and a professional job. For me, if you meant framework thinking and this fascination with clear communication, it was gradual and accidental. So I started wanting to work in international relations as a diplomat. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, but quickly realized, that's very bureaucratic, not at all what I wanted to do. So I went into law. Law was actually a lawyer was actually the first profession I wanted to be as a kid, because I was watching some Hong Kong legal TV series, kind of like Suits. And I thought, wow, I want to be a lawyer. It's so cool. I want to help people. So I went into law, knowing I wasn't going to be a lawyer, because I was more interested in the idea of how can we even decide what is right and wrong? How can we create a justice system with all the powers at play? I mean, what is this invisible hand that's really guiding our society, but we most of the time are not super conscious of it? So I went in there. That was my first taste of framework thinking, that you state a legal problem, then you sort the facts into different filters in order to craft your defense. And, there's good and bad about it. You can definitely massage truth, but on the other hand, the idea of innocent until proven guilty really taught me to not necessarily think with assumptions, but actually becoming aware of my assumptions. And to me, that's very powerful. And so that was my first taste. And then I went into consulting. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. I'm very fascinated by business, and so by accident, I got into consulting. And that's really conscious framework thinking. The frameworks there were tools to help you grasp any industry that happens, any problems that the client have, with some previous knowledge, with some frameworks to dissect the industry and the problems. And I felt the power of how thinking can be channeled so clearly with a specific goal. And it really changed my life. I was able to talk to executives with no experience in that industry, but offer them something that, because they are so deep in the industry in the ways that they couldn't see. And to me, that was so much power. And for a generalist like me, having that tool in order to be able to converse with specialists was life-changing, because at that point, as a generalist, I felt like, I must be doing something wrong. Everyone is specializing, everyone is, niching down. And as you can see on this channel, there are so many things I want to talk about. And frameworks were really the first things that told me that is my value as a generalist. I can help connect the dots on the bigger level, and people who are specialists can really offer nuance that I can't see, and we can work together. And so that's how it became a professional job. And I'm so passionate about it because I think, not everyone in this world is a specialist. Not everyone was born to have one specific passion. Like, I don't know, Tiger Woods was playing golf and he could barely walk. And so, yeah, if you feel like you're a generalist and you want that superpower, being a generalist in this specializing world, then I think frameworks are it. Our next question from QQ Live. I became curious how you balance YouTube and full-time job, specifically time management and dealing with emotions from both of them. Thanks for great content always. Yes, this is a difficult question to answer. There are two sides to it. The first side is, to me, the busier I get, the more productive I am. So the more I know I have limited time, the better I am at managing my time. And so I started YouTube when I had my own business. I didn't have a full-time job back then. My business was my full-time job. And as a result, I was able to structure it so that I had a lot of free time to think, to do creative things. But the downside of that is actually because I had so much time, I just didn't push myself very hard to create YouTube videos, to do some of the things I needed to do, but they lacked a forcing function. So when I started my full-time job, at the beginning it was tough. Trying to learn everything new and still being able to create. But after you get into the rhythm, then having the job is a forcing function. Your 9 to 5 is occupied. So when are you going to create YouTube videos? I don't think we can have everything. I think we have to be realistic. There's a finite number of times. So for me, I sacrifice sleep. You can see under my eyes, I have wrinkles to show for it. But yeah, so I sacrifice sleep. And the only reason I could do that is because I enjoy making YouTube videos. They help me clarify my thoughts, first of all. And to me, that's really important. And I mentioned in this video here about building specialized knowledge that Naval talks about. And to me, that is important. That is investing in myself. And so, yeah. If that means losing a little bit of sleep, then so be it. Yeah. And dealing with the emotions from both. Luckily, my YouTube channel is actually not that big, so I don't really have very strong emotions attached to it. If a YouTube video doesn't do well, so be it. The channel is still small. If a YouTube video does great, so be it. It's still the beginning. And I think the thing with YouTube, as I've seen with my videos, is that it could do very average for a very long time, and then all of a sudden, somehow the algorithm picks it up and, sends it to the moon. So to me, I try to remove emotions from it and just think, oh, I'm lucky if that happens. And emotions from work, there's actually this really interesting framework I learned about the 4 gods of management. I'll do a video on that actually, because it really helped me process what work means to me. So let me do a video. I'll put it here once it's ready, and yeah, I'll answer your question on that. Thank you so much. All right, next question from Vicky Warm. I hope I'm saying that right. I know you're in the Discord community as well. Your highest domino learnings in your journey so far. If you get these right, everything else will take care of itself, kind of life lessons. Okay, the biggest one, and came from 2 quotes that are related. The first one is from F. Scott Fitzgerald, saying the test of first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in mind and still retain the ability to function. And to me, the 2 opposing ideas refer to paradoxes. And the second quote, of course, is about paradox. And this one is from Richard Feynman, someone who features a lot on this channel. The paradox is only a conflict between reality and your feeling of what reality ought to be. This idea that things can contradict itself and still make sense is my biggest life learning so far. I think, we try to understand the world as something very simplistic. It's black and white, right or wrong, put it through the framework, no. But it's the idea that both the framework itself and everything not included in the framework, that makes up the whole. And to me, that answered all my life's questions. That it is, 1, normal, that things don't make sense in this world, that we feel overwhelmed, that there's contradictory information everywhere. And 2, that's actually a hint, an opportunity for us to learn something new. And once we, start to become comfortable grappling with opposing ideas, starting to be comfortable with uncertainty and still be able to function, then life is kind of fun. And to me, this was like, for example, when I started my business, nothing was going right. I was still learning. It was very difficult to, get clients, to work through things, to do things the way I wanted to see them happen. And I didn't have anything to show for my work for the first, I think, half a year or so. I should have felt defeated, and in some ways I did feel upset. Surely I can do better than this. But on the other hand, because the process itself has taught me that I can learn new skills and I can solve problems and I can make things work, that I felt so confident. Even though I had nothing to show for what I was doing for 6 months, I felt so confident. I was just so excited for what can happen. Doesn't make sense, except it really does. And everyone's like, oh, it's such a scary journey starting your business. But actually sometimes it feels scarier when you are comfortable. You wonder, is this it? So to me, that's the biggest learning. Once you're comfortable with two opposing ideas, once you're comfortable with uncertainty, everything in the world changes for the better. How do you journal? How would you recommend journaling using mental frameworks? Recent subscriber, your content Vicky is helping me a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Skyhammer. I actually have 2 ways of journaling. One's actual journaling, the other one is just writing to think. The first one is every single morning I do my gratitude journaling. It's a very small notebook, probably this size. And, I just write down things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes, they're the same things over and over again. It's just a moment to myself to remember that life is kind of awesome. I really think life is kind of awesome. I'm really glad I am alive in this moment in history where so many things are accessible. And I am especially grateful that the AI revolution is here. So this is a side note, but I really wanted to talk about this as somewhere. I really care about education. I think that, Be Amplified, it came from, I think every child, every adult have more potential than they believe themselves to have a lot of the times. And our traditional education system doesn't really empower us to do that. But with AI, I think finally the inflection point is here, where traditional education just has to change. It's being forced to change. Even if you cut off the internet at school, saying you can't use ChatGPT, they can go home and use the internet. It's like telling a kid, no, you cannot use the internet, even though this is where the world is going. It doesn't make sense. Rant is over. I'm really excited for this moment in time where things are changing. Yeah, so that's my gratitude journal. Then you mentioned journaling to use mental models. So to me, that means journaling to think through, processing information. And actually, that's just my Obsidian Vault. That's my personal knowledge management system. It is literally like my journal. I'm reading something, I find it interesting, I dropped out a note. That's my journal entry. And in terms of using mental models, I think the way to think about mental models is that there's divergent thinking and there's convergent thinking. And you want to separate the two. When you're divergent thinking, do not use mental models, because this is a moment where you want to make connections, you want to expand the idea, you want to explore. Right? Frameworks by itself, by definition, is reductionist. So when you're doing convergent thinking, however, they are super helpful. Actually, when I journal, I don't use mental models as much. So that's the answer. 2 types of journaling. One's just for gratitude, and the other one is just processing thought. From Molden M5239, lots of questions. Let me take, how did you overcome the golden shackles of not just your career, but society's life path determined for you? Bracket, choosing and attending the right school, studying the right program, joining the right company and the right career, fitting in society's status quo structure, dating and marrying the right person, traveling the world, having the right number of kids, if any, and educate their upbringing and repeat the cycle for future generation from life to death. Very deep question. For the longest time, I didn't. I thought I was rebellious, but I walked straight into the shackles. Unlike other Asian kids who were being forced, to go into law, to go into medicine, I actually wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to go to med school. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. because I saw what is that TV series called with that crazy doctor? Oh gosh, I'm blanking on the name. I'll put it here. But my mom, who is in the industry, told me you have shaky hands. You are not suited to become a neurosurgeon. You don't know what that's like if a life was lost because of your shaky hands. And so, you know, I was not allowed to go to med school. And so I went into international relations. All the Asian parents were like, what are you doing? Why are you not going into engineering or I don't know, biology or whatever? Fast forward, you know, I did end up going into law. I did end up going into consulting. I did, you know, now end up going into tech. They all are these status symbols. And to me, I really wanted, I think it come from, I really wanted to show that you don't have to be a software engineer to get into big tech. You don't need to be a law or a business MBA to get into consulting. You know, you can still do all of these things and benefit from them and still find a path for yourself, if that makes sense. So I think secretly, the rebellious me wanted to show that not only can I do all of those things that, you know, society, think is prestigious, but I can do my own thing as well. Looking back, actually I see why they are status symbols. For example, in consulting, you know, the learning curve was so steep and I learned so much within such a short period of time. So I think it's actually, you know, a great experience. In tech now, again, if the amount of scale, the amount of money, the amount of human computing power and, you know, machine computing power, it's just something great to see. And so, to me, the golden shackles have their merits, but at the same time is whether you can step out of it. And I always reminded myself that, you know, it's good to feel uncomfortable, because when you're comfortable, you get really bored. So I guess it's this desire to be uncomfortable that allowed me to navigate between the two. And to be honest, like still, you know, what my mom's friends say about me affect me, you know, like I can't believe it. They are, you know, like there's no connection between me and them, you know. I don't know why I care about what they say. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought I didn't care about what others thought, but in the end, I think we just have to admit that yes, we are affected by other people's opinions, and that's okay. And the one framework that helped take the pressure off is this idea of iteration, right? Like we cannot live the perfect life from the beginning. You know, we just once in a while take a look at our life. You know, I did this, you know, set systems, not goal for the new year to plan is, you know, just take some time, look at what you're doing and iterate, right? I'm happy in this area. Okay, we leave it as is, you know, and I iterate on something else. And as life grows, as we're in different stages of life, different things matter more or less to us. And it's never going to be perfect. I think that's, you know, something I've come to terms with. And it's always going to change because, you know, we are growing, right? If it stays the same every single day, it means nothing in us has changed, which kind of sucks, you know? So it's change is the only constant. And so knowing that we can always iterate and always, you know, move closer towards what we think works for us is good, you know? So to me, it's really a process and it's, at least for me, I think it's normal to be living within a society. There are, of course, crazy geniuses who don't give a crap. But actually, you know, their actions are so irrational sometimes that you start to think, well, you know, maybe they're not as cool as they seem to be. So iterating is my answer. All right, I think this is getting super long. I know I'm just rambling, but it's so great to have something different to chat with everyone. Also, I'm in the Discord once in a while to chat as well, and thank you again everyone, especially those who are still here at this moment in the video. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to the next milestone with all of you, and yeah, let's think, let's learn from each other, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.